Continuing from where we left, and as I suggested, we will get into a little more problem solving, quantitatively interactive mode. We will also drop the pace a little so that I can take you along. Now, thinking about dimensional analysis further, because this is an appropriate logical place where we should talk a little more. I indicated couple of problems, but I want to do that with adequate time now. So, the basis of dimensional analysis, as you would recollect, is the possibility that diverse and wide bodies of data could be compactly, sometimes even uniquely represented if we choose the dimensionless variables for description of the information, quantitative information about whatever phenomena you have made measurements on. And apart from the compactness of representation or universal representation, you also achieve a reduction in the number of independent entities you have to think of. If you were to restrict yourself to the relevance list comprising of all the parameters and variables which might influence the quantity of interest to you, you may have to deal with large numbers of parameters, and it will be difficult to keep track of understanding every individual effect. Whereas certain amount of reduction may be possible by taking recourse to dimensional analysis, and then there is the definite advantage that you might be able to talk in terms of comparisons of length scales, time scales, and so on. If the total number of elements in our relevance list set is not very large, something like 6, 7 under 10, then a reduction even by 3 could be significant. But there would be problems, and I hope we will have time to look at least one of the newer reactor models. I hope I will introduce you to in its full complexity. You might have very large number of parameters to deal with, something like 22. If there is a reduction by 3, it does not help much. So, the compactness or unique representations possibilities are there, but in terms of grasping the effect of individual entities, they may not be a big advantage. So, there is no unique solution, entire solution to every problem. That's what we have to understand. And what I succinctly put on board yesterday, I would want you to think a little more and do it yourself. I might have left you with a little bit of confusion, perhaps, from what I indicated last. So, that should also get clarified for yourself. So, think of this problem. I will dictate this problem, you take down. A fluid is flowing in a vertical pipe, and mass transfer is occurring from the pipe wall to the fluid. A fluid is flowing in a vertical pipe and mass transfer is occurring from pipe wall to the fluid. Relate the convective mass transfer coefficient, Kc prime, to the variables d, which is pipe diameter, density rho, viscosity mu, velocity v, average velocity v, molecular diffusivity dAb, acceleration due to gravity g, and density difference delta rho. So, I am telling again, Kc prime the mass transfer coefficient, d the pipe diameter, density, viscosity, average velocity v, dAb, g, and delta rho. maybe attempt from what you might have caught from the board last morning and think about where to take out. It's like this. Kc prime is our primary interest, mass transfer coefficient, and we expect all the other quantities, all the other parameters and variables will influence this mass transfer coefficient, right? So, primarily we have to think of Kc prime in terms of other things. So, based on whatever you might have grasped so far about dimensionless groups, first think in those terms. What dimensionless groups might appear relevant? Okay. That is independent of even the Buckingham pi theorem, right? I mentioned Buckingham pi theorem, but I will put it down exactly now. You think in terms of dimensionless groups. Okay. I have given you the more complex situation, vertical tall pipe through which fluid is flowing and transfer of mass is from wall to the fluid. If you have thought about those, now look at the statement of Buckingham pi theorem. The functional relationship among q quantities in terms of u fundamental units may be written as a function of q minus u dimensionless groups. Now, for this vertical pipe wall dissolution problem, dissolution and diffusion problem, what is q and what is u? Q is 8 and u is 3. So, according to Buckingham pi theorem, we should have 8 minus 3 5 dimensionless groups. Okay. Now, let us determine those 5 dimensionless groups. Yeah, but now I am asking you the procedure. How will you determine those 5 dimensionless groups? So, we think of this Greek pi and pi 1, pi 2, pi 3 up to pi 5 we postulate as our dimensionless groups to be determined. Okay. Now, we place in each of these pi groups a set of 3 common parameters. Maybe we could choose diffusivity, density and the pipe diameter as a set of parameters which is common in all 5. That leaves us with 5 other leftover parameters. Okay. So, we will write this set of DAB rho D with powers like A, B, C, D, A, F, etc. down to the 5th group, and one parameter which we have left for each of these like Kc prime, velocity v and so on. Those parameters we will add to one by one to each groups, but with power 1. Okay. This is our primary steps. So, pi 1 to pi 5 are written like pi 1 will be written as dAB to the power A, rho to the power B, pipe diameter d to the power c, and then we put Kc prime to the power 1. So, that is our first group. Pi 2 will be likewise dAB to the power d, rho to the power E and pipe diameter d to the power f and so on, continue. And in the pi 2 we will put V, Kc prime we put in pi 1, now V and so on. Once you have done this, written pi 1 to pi 5, the task is now to determine all these exponents A, B, C, D, F, etc. For that what we do is, we intend to get dimensionless groups. So, pi 1 is, for example, is dimensionless. It is written as dAB to the power A, rho to the power B, pipe diameter d to the power c and Kc prime, right. If the left hand side is dimensionless, the right hand side must also be dimensionless. If we get the right hand side dimensionless, we have got our dimensionless group. That will mean for what powers of A, B and C we will get the right hand side dimensionless. Okay. There are 3 exponents ABC to be determined, and we know all these 8 parameters are represented by the 3 fundamental units: mass, length, time. So what we do is now we plug in for each of the parameters like DAB, we will write L square by T, length square by time, density m by L cube, and Kc prime as L by T. You have ML and T, some may be absent in one or other parameter. You sum up now the exponents of mass, sum up the exponents of length, and sum up the exponents of time. So we will be able to write dimensionally L square by T to the power A, and then m by L cube to the power B, and L to the power C, and Kc prime is L by T. So collect the powers of L, collect the powers of m, collect the powers of T. Each of these sums must be equal to 0 if dimensionally this group has to be what is expected. So you will get from location of M one set of relation between A, B, C, from location of L another, and from location of T the third. 3 equations, 3 parameters you can solve. Okay. Try doing this, just the first step, and see what pi 1 comes out to be. All of you, even if you are not started, please begin now. You got the means of determining pi 1 to pi 5. Pi 1 is to be written as DAB to the power A, small a, rho to the power B, and pipe diameter to the power C into Kc prime. Okay. Now this set of groups, DAB rho D, will be common in all pi 1 to pi 5. Kc prime to the power 1 is here, next one will have velocity, and so on. So remaining, apart from these 3, 5 are left over. So take 1 each here, each to the power 1. Then put the dimensions of each of this, DAB rho D, collect the powers of L. Yeah, you can write DAB as L square by T.
So that we can make them dimensions.
Exactly. Solve the simultaneous algebraic equations and you get all the parameters. So we are just keeping the primary quantity of interest, mass transfer coefficient in pi 1, and then other things. Pi 1 will be, write down pi 1 equal to DAB to the power A, small a, rho to the power B, small d to the power C, pipe diameter to the power C, into Kc prime. Pi 2 will be similarly DAB rho D to the each to the power DEF, and then P, so on. You write the 5 groups. When you take moles per volume as the unit for concentration difference, we know mass transfer coefficient has the same dimensions as velocities, so L by T. Take for the sake of illustration DAB rho D to be common in pi 1 to pi 5, and distribute the rest of the parameters from Kc prime V etc. in each. DAB rho D to be basic set common, those will be raised to powers A, B, C, D, F etc. Rest of the parameters Kc prime V etc. will be distributed in 1 each with power 1. Now you put the dimensions, that is L square by T, this is m by L cube, and this is L. You now have the powers of m, powers of L, and powers of T all equated to 0. Just solve them. Write the relevance list. If those of you who have not started even, write the relevance list. Kc prime, DAB, rho, D, what else? How many are there? Delta rho and G. How many are there in total? What have you written? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Delta rho and G, 8. What are the units of diffusivity? Dimensions of diffusivity? That is acceleration to do gravity. Not even that, meter per second square. Meter square per second. See, don't have to remember everything. Fick's law is known to you, so you can easily work it out, right? Don't have to remember everything. You only have to remember the basic equation. Fick's law is something you can't afford to forget. You have to shed this mental inertia sooner the better. It's my observation that in tutorials most people are too sluggish to start, but once you mentally shake off that inertia, things will get better. Unless you start working things out on your own, mere lectures are not going to help you, nor mere reading before the exams. You really have to work things out. That's the reason I am converting part of this time into tutorial like work. But I need your active participation. Every word you have to be attentive to. Has anyone figured out the group pi 1? Go to the board and write down. Go ahead to the board and write down. At least that will help others who have not started catch up. I am giving you multiple opportunities. Try understanding what he is doing. Okay? Ask questions. Feel free now. But don't waste any more time. Focus on what we are doing now. Maybe you start with the relevance list at the top. Write down the relevance list again, because I see many of the students here not even sure what the relevance list is. We are talking of pipe flow, we are talking of dissolution, we are interested in mass transfer coefficient. We expect mass transfer coefficient will depend on diffusivity, the velocity, dimensions of the pipe, density of liquid, viscosity, because those will influence the flow, perhaps delta rho and G, because this is a tall vertical pipe. Density difference may lead to free convection contribution. So gravity comes into picture and density difference. Let me prepare the second volunteer for pi 2. Can everyone understand this? Can you also recognize what that dimensionless group is? Mass transfer coefficient, length scale by diffusivity. Meter per second, meter square per second, diffusivity is meter square per second, so dimensionless. Dimensionless group containing mass transfer coefficient is Sherwood number, right? So first group is Sherwood number, that is the primary one. Remember, so many correlations we talked of for Sherwood number, and they were in terms of other groups. So can I have the next one for pi 2? Go ahead, go to the board and write down. Maybe write slightly bigger so that it's visible to everybody. Make your letters bigger from next step onwards. Write bigger. So the second dimensionless group pi 2 has come out to be LV by DAB or dV by DAB, diameter times velocity by DAB. That's a dimensionless group which is comparing convective to diffusional contributions. Convective to diffusional contribution. That's your Peclet number, written as PE, Peclet number. It turns out that Peclet number, when you work things out, you get the other groups, pi 2, pi 3, pi 4, pi 5. You would be able to see that this Peclet number is actually a composite of two groups. The more familiar Reynolds number and Schmidt number is actually their product. Okay. So what might happen is, by choice of your parameters or the basic set which is common in all dimensionless groups, you might get composite dimensionless groups. You can play with them a little bit to figure out the dimensionless groups you are more familiar with, like instead of Peclet number, Reynolds and Schmidt. Okay. One new group which will come out here again happens to be a composite group, which is Grashof number, and it is made of two more elementary groups, delta rho by rho, the density difference by the density. That means as a result of mass transfer, how much difference in density you can create between the solution and the solvent, measure of that. And another one which is GL cube by nu square, that is Galilei number, which compares the gravitational to viscous forces, and the product of this delta rho by rho and Galilei number GL cube by nu square, in this case it may come out to be Grashof D, that is a Grashof number for mass transfer. If you had a similar problem involving heat transfer, you would have another similar dimensionless group with origin for the density difference in temperature, and that will bring in beta delta T in place of delta rho by rho, because now that density difference is coming from the expansion coefficient. Okay. So depending on the problem, you might have these relevant dimensionless groups to be figured out, and you will be able to understand their physical significance. Can I presuppose now rest of the things you can do here? Clear? Okay. This is what I given you, just one of the methods. As you get smarter with experience and time, you might be able to figure these out just looking at the parameters you have at hand. It's just a matter of practice. Okay. Now that brings me to another important problem. I will just have time to describe the so-called Stefan's problems, the problems involving movement of a boundary. I mentioned two examples. Suppose you have a trough containing water and you have an ice slab floating on water. Some melting will happen, heat transfer will establish a uniform temperature. The phase change will keep happening at the interface between water and the lighter ice slab, the surface which is in contact with water. It will keep melting. So, if you are to measure the thickness of this ice slab, that will keep diminishing with time. This was the original heat transfer problem which was identified by Stefan as a problem worth special attention. And it turns out that if you try to solve this problem, then you have to contend with a boundary which is moving. Top surface presumably, let us say, is kept at the same temperature by ambient air, but the surface in contact with water will keep shifting. Likewise, you can think of another problem. Say in laboratory you take a measuring cylinder and you have first half of it filled by acidic solution, say solution of HCl in water, and let us say we keep a septum on top of it and lay over on top of this septum an alkaline solution like sodium hydroxide dissolved in water and containing little bit of phenolphthalein. So, that becomes pink. So, this pink alkaline layer containing indicator placed on top of acid, and then at some point of time imagine that septum is removed such that no mixing is introduced. So, all this has to be thought experiment. In actual experiment you will only be able to approximate. If the septum is removed, then the acid has come in contact with alkali, and if the total amount of acid present in the lower layer is in excess of stoichiometric quantity required to neutralize that alkali, then it means that acid will keep depleting alkali. The pink region on top will keep shrinking until it vanishes altogether. Okay. That is what this problem is about, and although it is written here rapid chemical reaction, we actually want to indicate practically instantaneous reaction. Obviously, nothing is instantaneous. So, very rapid is an appropriate term, but practically it is a reaction so rapid that you would not be able to easily measure the rates of, okay, or rate constants of. Now, the question is what will happen physically at the boundary where the acid meets alkali. The neutralization reaction will happen so fast that alkali and acid concentration there will be both brought to 0 within no time, and that we will call reaction front. Reaction front is where the acid is meeting alkali. Since the acid is an excess reagent and alkali is the limiting reagent, the reaction front is expected to move upward and reach the top. When it reaches the top, everything will become colorless. There will be no pink region left, but in between till that time you would see the pink region is diminishing in extent. Reaction front is moving, and we are asked to find out the concentration profile of acid and alkali in the two layers, acid below, alkali above. In order to solve this problem, we have to understand that the pink region remains pink, the colorless region remains colorless, which means acid and base react so fast that they react only at the reaction plane, they cannot coexist. So, where there is acid there cannot be alkali, where there is alkali there cannot be acid. Okay. So, the reaction front will be defined by both concentrations of acid and base Ca and Cb equal to 0. In the acid region we will have normal diffusion equation, unsteady state diffusion equation, dou Ca by dou T equal to dAB dou 2 Ca by dou Z, right. In the base case similarly just the diffusion equation, dou Cb by dou T equal to dB or dA or whatever dBs dou 2 Cb by dou Z square. Diffusion equations, no reaction term there. We do not have reaction term in two cases, if there is no reaction really present or reaction between two species is instantaneous. Infinity cannot be accommodated in any governing equation. So, it goes in some subtle form into a boundary condition, and nowhere do we write infinity, we only say Ca equal to Cb equal to 0 where the reaction front is. Okay. At the other extents where the bulk of acid is near the bottom, this region is expanding in thickness, the other one is receding, and the acid thickness may be regarded as infinity. So far away, maybe at the bottom of the vessel, the concentration will be initial concentration, that will not change. The alkali region is shrinking, so that is a finite quantity to begin with, it remains finite till the end, becomes 0. Now, in order to solve this problem, you need to understand that that is nonlinear, and that nonlinearity will come out if you try to freeze the boundary. How do we freeze the boundary is something we will start with next time.